It didn't surprise me that much that Joseph Smith borrowed temple stuff from the Masonic ceremonies. That didn't bother me that much because it made sense. Like he borrowed from lots of different places.
Right.
But it did shock me when I saw a TikTok alleging that some of the verses were satanic. And so I looked it up and actually did the research and found out that that last piece of knowledge or the last piece of learning that you have in the temple that's supposed to be the most sacred thing is actually from a Wiccan ceremony that includes the word, a P word that we can't say.
Correct. All of the things they talk about in that last part specifically, and we know that Joseph Smith had looked into the occult. You know, it surprised me that I had said it so many times and never even considered that.
Yeah.
But being out of the church, actually looking into Joseph Smith's history and understanding the kind of person that he actually was, it doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
You know,
knowing what I know now, it doesn't. And I think if somebody had told me as a believing member that that was the case, I would not have believed them.
Oh, 100%. I guarantee it. I'd be like, there's no way. Actually, knowing me, I'd be like, show me. I want the proof.
Let me see.
You know?
And there's a guy on the other side of the veil that you can't see who represents Heavenly Father. And you go up to this guy and you're instructed, you put your hand through the veil, and this is called the 5 points of fellowship. And this is right out of Masonry and right out of witchcraft.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan.
And I'm Kirsten.
And together we are Ex Mormon Snark.
We are here trading our testimonies for truth bombs.
And today we are spilling all kinds of Mormon tea. Spoilers ahead. Many, many spoilers.
Huge spoilers about the final major step in the LDS Temple Ceremony. Dun,
That's
dun,
right.
dun.
Ta-da! So, Kirsten, how's it going today? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very witchy today.
Yes.
I will be honest. I just chose this shirt because it was clean and it's a little cold today. So I wanted long sleeves. But then after I started getting ready and I realized what the topic was today, I was like, this is perfect. We just did the whole endowment ceremony and wearing our all white. And now that we're at the veil, even though in the LDS temple, you're still in your all white with your veil and your apron and your get up. Really, we're moving into the occult. So I feel like black is really more appropriate. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. In fact, that's why I, went a little Wiccan today with my makeup. And
I love it.
This was a hard one for me when I learned what was really going on. But we'll talk about that later. We kind of teased it a little at the beginning of the episode for people. But full disclosure, we are going to be talking about the real words that are said in the Mormon Temple Ceremony. And so if you're not prepared for that, we completely understand. We respect you take care of yourself and do what's necessary for you. But this is the last step. Well, not the last step, but it's the last part of the temple ceremony, the main endowment ceremony. And so far, we have traveled a long way on the covenant path, Kirsten. I think we have now 9 episodes. We did baptism, confirmation, temple interview questions, baptisms for the dead as a youth. We did temple prep, the Mormon magic underwear. Yep. And we did the initiatory ceremony. And last week we did the new name. Sorry. Yeah. New name.
And then the endowment. Yeah.
Most of the endowment. But it took us a really long time because it is a long ceremony. So now we're finally at the final part of the ceremony. We're almost to the final part. And we're going to finally be entering the celestial room through the secret words and handshakes. And so we're going to go over that. And we're going to talk about its ties to Masonry and witchcraft.
I like that we're talking about really the way it applies to the Masons and the Wiccan and everything, because I know for sure when I was in the church, I had no idea. I didn't even know that until 6 weeks ago when you told me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it totally
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And it
So,
took me a long time after being out of the church to find this information as well. And I didn't want to just take people's word for it. So, I saw this TikTok and I was like, is that real? Because there is a lot of anti-Mormon stuff out there that's kind of exaggerated or whatever. But no, I looked it up and
I want to say I don't consider it anti-Mormon. I just am allergic to that phrase because it was used so often.
Yeah.
I would say misinformation or exaggerated information, because I have personally even seen historians or conspiracy theorists or whatever, people who try to educate on the Mormon religion, and it's just a little bit off. But I think that happens when you haven't actually experienced it yourself, and it is fun to be a little bit exaggerating and, sensationalistic or whatever. So I think that's just why I'm like, I wouldn't say much anti-Mormon as trying to educate and exaggerating. So
yeah, and also it's to your point, when you haven't lived it yourself, it is really easy to kind of, get it wrong in a way that exaggerates it a little bit. I was on a podcast last night with somebody who was not a Mormon, but who was writing about the Mormon church. And it was interesting to see somebody in the comments say, it's so weird to hear a Nevermo talk about my religion, because there are some things that they don't quite, understand exactly. And so you're right. It's not really anti-Mormon. It's just, it's the real. And the thing is, you don't need to exaggerate in Mormonism because it's crazy as it is.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think when we left off the last episode where we went through the Mormon Endowment ceremony, the main ceremony, the movie, and we went through all of the signs and tokens. We went through the true order of prayer, which is the prayer circle, which is super culty. I think that's the cultiest part of it. And then right before you go through the veil, they sort of do like a recap. They do a review of all of the signs and tokens that you've learned so far.
Yes.
In an effort to help you when you go through the veil. So, let me go to the script. So right after the prayer happens, the sisters unveil their faces. Nowadays they don't veil their faces during the prayer, but I always, whenever I went, that's when you can take the veil off. And I actually, when you were talking about this,
off, just lift it so now they can see your face. You still have to wear it.
Right. But this is the part where I finally was like, okay, finally we're all dressed. We're not going to change our clothes anymore. I don't have the veil on anymore. And I can just sit here quietly while everyone else is going up to the veil. So it was like the first time that you get to have peace in the temple because nobody's talking. And, you can just sit there and everything is relatively quiet. You can hear a little tap, tap, tap every once in a while, which we'll talk about. But I liked getting to this part because I'm like, okay, finally, I can just have my peace. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the first time I went through the temple, I was full of anxiety because here we've just been given a bunch of new stuff to memorize. And I was like repeating it all in my head as they were going through it to make sure I got it exactly right. Because I knew that, we have to get it exactly right. And this is like going to the celestial room. This is not like saying a sacrament prayer. I felt like you could just do it over. I was like, if I get it wrong, they're not going to let me in. And I was like super anxious about the whole thing. Not only that,
it's long. It's a lot. Like there's people that go many, many, many times and still cannot remember it. So it's a lot. So I remember having that same anxiety, like, how the heck am I supposed to remember this? Do I get a card? Is there something I can read? Like, that's what I was really worried about.
Yeah. And also my first time through the temple, I had been fasting all day long so that I would be closer to the spirit. And it was a huge pressure situation. Plus I had just been through some traumatic things in the initiatory ceremony. So I was a bundle of just nerves and anxiety, and my parents were there, my sister was there. I was just like, it was just hugely nerve-wracking for me, which is why you may understand what happened to me at the veil. We'll get to that. So everybody sits back down after the prayer, and then Peter, the loudspeaker guy comes on. The guy presses the button, the recording starts again, and Peter says, "We will now uncover the veil." Okay, so it's kind of difficult to see. I think this is a screenshot from the New Name Noah video where they show the entirety of the endowment ceremony, but you can see the altar here. They also put the scriptures on top of the altar. And then when you get to this point, there is actually a big curtain that covers this. And actually, I want to see if I can find a better picture. So this is the veil room in the Salt Lake Temple. And again, women would have been sitting on the left side of the room and on the right side of the room in these benches. And these little blue curtains are what cover up the quote unquote sacred veil. So up to this point, all you can see is the blue curtains. But when they start to explain the last part of the ceremony, these curtains would open, and then you would see something similar to this one, where you can see the marks on the veil. So you can see the guy in the white suit sort of has the veil parted just a little bit. And right here, this little thing is where a guy on the other side is going to put his hand through so you can perform the secret handshakes.
Oh, where you put your hand in the temple. That's what it is. For your hand.
Goodness.
Who knows what you're going to get on the other side?
It might be a
I
trick.
said what I said. Okay. Proceed with the veil. You're about to meet God. What are we laughing at, Megan? Oh my God.
Oh, I don't know what we're laughing at, because we're about to meet God. It's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to see, there was a place where I saw like a drawing of it, and we saw it in that TikTok. So the veil has the same markings as the Mormon temple garment, and we went through those in our magic underwear episode. So the V is the sign of the compass, and the backwards L is the sign of the square, and then the other mark, the straight mark, is the ruler mark, and those are all Masonic symbols. And then you can see this guy with his hand in the hole. And what's happening is that there is a man on the other side of the curtain representing God. And basically they walk you through giving the signs and the tokens. And so you're supposed to put your hand through there to show the signs and tokens. And then at the end, there's the 5 points of fellowship, which is a big Masonic thing. And we'll talk about exactly what that is. But for now, I'm just going to read through the script while we're looking at this so that you can see. Because there's a guy up there demonstrating this as the recording is going. So the recording says, "Brethren and sisters, this is the veil of the temple. I will now explain the marks on the veil. These 4 marks are the marks of the holy priesthood, and corresponding marks are found in your individual garment. On the right is the mark of the square. It is placed in the garment over the right breast, suggesting to the mind." Yes.
And the guy has a pointer. Remember? He has a pointer pointing to them. It's like a pointer stick. And he points to the things.
It's not just like he points with his hand or his finger. He literally, on the altar of the temple, is a little pointer stick, and he's like, and then, like a teacher in a classroom, and he points as the recording is going, which is kind of comical, I have to say.
Well, that's why I wanted it to be included, because everyone's standing there listening to this, and you're like, it just had prayer and stuff, and all of a sudden it's like,
right, yeah,
here, just starts like show and tell.
Exactly. Don't worry, we're also going to get to the little dongle over here. I'll show you what that is in a little while. All right, going on. Suggesting to the mind exactness and honor in keeping the covenants entered into this day. On the left mark is the mark of the compass. It is placed in the garment over the left breast, suggesting to the mind an undeviating course leading to eternal life, a constant reminder that the desires, appetites, and passions are to be kept within the bounds the Lord has set, and that all truth may be circumscribed into one great whole. Then he points to the straight line and says, "This is the navel mark. It is placed in the garment over the navel, suggesting to the mind the need of constant nourishment to the body and spirit." Then he points to the one down low. It says, "This is the knee mark. It is placed in the right leg of the garment so as to be over the kneecap, suggesting that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus is the Christ." Now, I don't know about you, Kirsten, but my garments never went over my kneecap.
Well, no. I would say even my longest one were probably like right at the top of my knees. So not over my kneecap. Unless you consider like over the kneecap, like hanging
like
out.
on top of the kneecap?
Above, maybe?
Above
I don't
the
know.
kneecap? I don't know. I just think we did it wrong this whole time. And that's why, we're cursed. We're cursed now.
I left because my markings were not directly over.
Imagine. I found out that the markings were supposed to be directly over the knee, and they weren't this whole time.
They weren't. My belly button one never was right over my navel.
100%. Mine was always like way higher than that.
Wonky. Yeah.
Anyway. All right. These other 3 marks are for convenience in working at the veil. I'm sorry, but that...
I loved when they pointed at those two. It's like, these are for convenience.
It's like, I'm sorry, what? Through 1, the person representing the Lord puts forth his right hand to test our knowledge of the tokens of the holy priesthood. Through the one on our right, he asks us certain questions. Through the one on the left, we give our answers.
I'm doing this because they are pantomiming and pointing this whole time.
Right. Just like this, flight attendants.
Yes.
So then the dude, there's the temple officiator steps behind the veil to represent the Lord. And then it says a small mallet hangs on the metal frame which supports the veil. So behind the veil are like these metal frames. And here's what happens. Peter says, "As all of you will have to pass through the veil, we will show you how this is to be done. The person is brought to this point." And the worker gestures. And the worker gives 3 distinct taps with the mallet. And there's no sound like a rubber mallet on a metal frame that, just I can't duplicate it. And I'm glad I can't, because it would probably be kind of triggering. Ding, ding, ding.
And it has to be 3. Never shall be once.
That's
never should be 2.
5 is right out.
Yes, go ahead.
The officiator taps the mallet 3 times, whereupon the Lord parts the veil and asks, "What is wanted?" Adam.
I love when they showed... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I love when they showed the Lord parting the veil, you just see like a hand come through.
That's why I did that. All you see is a hand.
You just see a hand and then like a gap.
The finger of the Lord.
Yeah.
Adam, having been true and faithful in all things, desires further light and knowledge by conversing with the Lord through the veil. And the Lord says, "Present him in the veil, and his request shall be granted." The person is then brought to this point, whereupon the Lord puts forth his right hand, gives the first token of the Aaronic priesthood, and asks, "What is that?" The first token of the Aaronic priesthood. Has it a name? It has. Will you give it to me? I will, through the veil. The person then gives, through the veil, the name of this token, which is the new name received in the temple today. The Lord then gives the second token of the Aaronic priesthood and asks, "What is that?" The second token of the Aaronic priesthood. Has it a name? It has. Will you give it to me? I will, through the veil. The person then gives the name of this token, which is his first given name, if he is going through the temple for his own endowment, Or if he is going through for the dead, it is the first given name of the person for whom he is officiating. The Lord then gives the first token of the Melchizedek priesthood, or sign of the nail, and asks, "What is that?" The first token of the Melchizedek priesthood, or sign of the nail. Has it a name? It has. Will you give it to me? I will, through the veil. I need to take a break, man.
I know. Guys, so while they're doing all this, they're acting it out. And please remember, all of this is what each person has to do at the veil individually. So
Yeah.
all of these things you have to remember you're going to say. And
Yeah.
when they say they show the token, they're like, "What is that?" That's the secret handshakes that you used, or excuse me,
that we
used,
learned
that
in the
you
we learned in
learned.
the we learned those in the
Right.
last episode. John showed us. He was very kind.
I
We
know
only saw
John's
his.
hand was very helpful.
That is why I was laughing so hard, is because it's just like in the temple where you only see the hand of the Lord come in.
That's why I said we only want your hand. I should have explained that better. That was my thought
Yeah.
process. I'm like, John is being the hand of God.
Well, I kept thinking, like, we'll explain it when we get to the veil. And here we are. So
Here we are. Now we understand.
Okay. Trauma. All right. The person then gives the name of this token, which is the Son, meaning the Son of God. The Lord then gives the second token of the Melchizedek priesthood, the patriarchal grip, or sure sign of the nail, and asks, "What is that?" The second token of the Melchizedek priesthood, the patriarchal grip, or sure sign of the nail. Has it a name? It has. Will you give it to me? I cannot. I have not yet received it. For this purpose, I have come to converse with the Lord through the veil. Now then, there's part of this that's crossed out. The Lord says, you shall receive it through the veil. That's what's said now. But before it said, you shall receive it upon the 5 points of fellowship through the veil.
Which
now,
meant
the 5 points of fellowship are the inside of the right foot by the side of the right foot, knee to knee, breast to breast, hand to back, and mouth to ear. It's a very intimate sort of a thing.
Very close, and a hug with a
yes.
curtain in between with someone
Right.
you do not know.
Stranger danger, stranger through the veil is basically what is happening. You have no idea who this dude is, okay?
And it is always a dude.
It is always a dude, always. So you can see in this figure, this is from the Masonic, the Freemason ceremony, demonstrating, the Grand Master and whatever. I don't know what the exact words are for those guys, but you can see they're at the inside of their foot to the inside of their foot. They're touching knee to knee, breast to breast, and they're doing the secret handshake with their right hand, and their left hand is over the shoulder of the other person and mouth to ear. That's the only way that this information can be communicated, because it is so secret.
When did they change it? Do you know?
I don't think there was like an official change. I don't know. Maybe there was. Well, I guess there had to be 5 points of fellowship. I guess they just decided it was awkward to do the inside of the foot and knee to knee, because the rest of this is the same.
I was going to say, because I just wondered, because I'm like, I remember having to be like right there next to them. Like you could smell their breath.
Yes. They do put their hand through the veil on your back, and you're supposed to put your hand through the veil on their back. So it is this close. It's just that they don't make you put your foot to foot and knee to knee.
Yeah. But I'm like, I remember being like against them when I did it. So that's why I'm like, I don't remember doing the foot thing, but for sure it was like chest to chest, arms on their shoulder. Like they tell you need to do that too.
Yep.
So yeah.
I did not like that. Did not like it at all.
I did not either. Like I said, I felt like I could smell their breath on me.
Yeah.
Like, I hated it.
Yeah. So they don't say that anymore. They don't talk about the 5 points of fellowship, because that is strictly Masonic, and people hearing that now would be like, what?
Yeah.
The Lord, again, we're still in practice mode here. The Lord then gives the name of this token and asks, "What is that?" And Peter says, "The second token of the Melchizedek priesthood, the patriarchal grip, or sure sign of the nail." And the Lord says, "Has it a name?" "It has." "Will you give it to me?" "I will, through the veil." The person then repeats back to the Lord the name of this token as he receives it, whereupon the Lord says, "That is correct." The person is again brought to this point, and the worker gives 3 distinct taps with the mallet. The Lord parts the veil and asks, "What is wanted?" Adam, having conversed with the Lord through the veil, desires now to enter his presence. The Lord then puts forth his right hand, takes the person by the right hand, and says, "Let him enter." He is admitted into the presence of the Lord. We will now report. And then Jehovah says, "We went and did all that stuff."
Yeah.
And then we've been down to the man Adam, blah, 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 did all we were commanded to do. God says, "It is well." And then instruct them to come, introduce his posterity at the veil, where we'll give to him the second token of the Melchizedek priesthood. Jehovah says, "It shall be done." And then he repeats all that stuff again. And then Peter says, "It shall be done."
Yes, it's a lot. So just to recap, at this point, we've listed all of this, and the second token of the Melchizedek priesthood, we don't know what that is. And so
Yeah.
you're going to find out at the veil. And I know in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be something like the name is Jehovah. Like, I honestly thought it was going to be something like that.
Right.
Spoiler alert, it is not.
It's not.
Like a freaking paragraph, and you have to remember it, having never heard it before.
Right. But I will say they do have temple workers, especially the first time through, who are standing there making sure you're saying everything right. And they can prompt you if you need it. So they don't totally expect you to, go through this all. Now, they took out a lot. There's apparently used to be a whole lecture given at the veil. And this was where those blood oaths come into play. And they go through like the entire thing again.
Wow.
The lecture at the veil. Like, this is why this took so long, is because they repeat, like they recap the entire temple ceremony.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Including the blood oaths. Let's reiterate what the blood oaths are, just for people who maybe have not watched the Endowment.
Brethren and sisters, strive to comprehend the glorious things presented to you this day. No other people on earth have ever had this privilege, except as they have received the keys of the priesthood given in the Endowment. These are what are termed the mysteries of godliness, that which will enable you to understand the expression of the Savior made just prior to his betrayal.
Wow.
Like Mormon exceptionalism, no other people on earth have ever had this privilege.
I just had a thought, Megan. So just that wording right there, and with the blood oaths and everything, you and I didn't have to do that because that was cut out before we went. So we didn't know that was a thing, or at least I didn't, until I did my own research. But think about it, like our parents did that for years. And with that like Mormon exceptionalism talk and everything like that, no wonder their generation was so doubled down and feeling like the temple was so incredibly special.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the things that we did made it feel like it was so incredibly intense and special. You cannot reveal the secrets of the temple. And for them, it was even more like you have to give your life up if you reveal this. So no wonder they were super, super indoctrinated and like, the temple is so special. You're going to get all this stuff. And if you tell anybody, I don't know. I kind of had that thought just now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. There's a part in this lecture that got cut out that says, "You must keep in mind that you are under a solemn obligation never to speak outside of the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, of the things you see and hear in this sacred place."
Yeah. So
And also, I find it really funny. The instructions say the following lecture is only given when there are patrons present who are receiving their own endowments, or when the endowment room is full and additional time is needed to present the patron at the veil. So it's like it's like a vamp, just in case.
Just in case. Have a little small talk at the veil.
Oh my gosh. And it's long. It's several pages long because it recaps the entire temple ceremony. Like, I feel like they could just reduce it
Ew.
down into this and not have to go through all of that. Oh,
Well,
so I'll tell you, my experience in the temple, for the first time going through, we've talked about where I was emotionally at that point. And so
yeah.
when I finally got to the veil and I was able to remember everything without help, and we got to this place where it was like they're going to give me the final name of the final token. And I was like, this is it. It's like all culminating in this moment. And I was expecting something hugely revelatory. I was expecting something powerful. And
Yeah.
when I heard it, I was literally overcome. And it was, what I attributed it to was just like receiving the truth was overwhelming to me. And I always, cry at that sort of a thing. But I think it was a combination of like disbelief that this is actually the thing, disappointment that this is actually the thing, but also relief that I'm done. I've done this thing. I'm acceptable now. I'm one of them, not just my family, but like my ward members, where I'd always felt less than for not having gone through the temple. It was like this culmination of everything. And I literally felt like I can still feel it right now in my body. I felt like muscle weakness. I felt fatigue. I was not hyperventilating, but I had that anxiety breathing going on. And so I listened to these words and I literally broke down into tears and I could not speak. And I just sat there with tears streaming down my face and I was just shaking. And this sweet lady who was standing next to me, at the veil trying to help me through because it was my first time, I couldn't repeat the words because you're supposed to repeat it immediately after they say it to you. And I couldn't speak. And so she just put her hand on my shoulder and she said, "Can you say it?" And I just like, yes, And so I had to like take a deep breath and calm myself down and repeat it. And then, they brought me through to the celestial room and I still couldn't speak for a long time. I just stood there and cried for a long time. And my mom was like, she patted me on the shoulder and she was like, "It's so special, isn't it?" And I was like, "No." But it was like, I don't know, everybody, when you have that little pink tag, everybody kind of looks at you like, "Oh, it's your first time. Congratulations." And people will come up to you as strangers in the celestial room and like put their arm on your, or put their hand on your arm and just like give you a little, like,
"You
did it. You did it." It's like, it's for everybody. It's a celebration for everybody. They're like, "You're one of us now." It really is like a secret club kind of a thing.
Megan, you and I had very different experiences.
I know.
So let me share mine for the people who sit in the back and laugh at things because you are in good company. I am the type of person you should never sit next to during a funeral, a baby shower, a wedding, an opera. No, I take that back. Musical things I feel very deeply, but none of the other things. I was like, okay, I got this. I'm like you. I'm remembering everything. I've got it in my head. I feel like I'm Rocky walking up to the veil. I'm like, I got my signs and tokens. And we go up there. And as he starts to repeat to me what they're saying, I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell does this have to do with anything? I'm not kidding. like when you guys hear it repeated, which I know you're all on the edge of your seats with bated breath, just waiting for what we're going to share with you, because that's how we felt. And then they repeat it to you, and I'm like, what? What does this have to do with the sure sign of the nail? Like, that's literally what I thought. And I repeated it back pretty easily because it's kind of stuff you've heard your whole life, kind of thing, or things I was familiar with. Maybe not in that order, but I repeated it back. I did need help a couple times. And then they pulled me through the veil. And I remember being like, okay, that's done. Phew, it had been a long day. I was tired. I was still kind of feeling like the initiatory service was very weird. That was something that lingered in my mind for a very long time. I'm not going to lie. And I got pulled into the celestial room. I was one of the last ones that went through. I don't know why. I can't remember the reason why, but I was one of the last ones. And so I'm standing in there. My parents are there. My grandparents are there. My future husband is in there. His grandparents are in there. And both me and him, I remember us connecting, like looking at each other and being like, because it was his first time too. And his grandfather, who had been a mission president and all these things, he was like, come here. And so he went up and I was like, yes. And he was like, I got an acronym to help you remember. And then he told us the acronym on how to remember the last part. And I remember even in that moment standing there being like, I don't know. It was like I thought something profound was going to come out of his mouth. Like, now you two will have a wonderful, or like I was waiting for wisdom or something. We're in the celestial room. I expected someone to like give me a hug, or like Megan said, like squeeze my arm or tell me I looked beautiful. Like, I don't even know what, but I was not expecting that, especially since the acronym is something to do. I can't even remember it if I sat down and think about it. But it was something to do with like, you have to remember Her Royal Majesty's something. And I was just like,
I'm going to need to know what this is.
Right? And I was just sitting there. I could probably go through a journal and find it or something. I'll have to think about it. Because like I said, I haven't been to the temple in at least 12 years. If not longer. So I'll have to think about it. But when he said that, and I was just standing there, and I remember even going, thank you for that. Like my ex-husband looked at me, and even he was like, we didn't know what to do. And so I just stood there, and then my mom like came up and hugged me and stuff. And I remember my mom being like, so do you want to like hang out in here? And I was like, what do we do? And she goes, you can just sit. And I was like, no, I want to go home. And she's like, okay. And we just left.
They also have copies of the scriptures bound in white leather in case you want more scripture after that 2-hour ordeal.
And multiple white couches and chairs.
Right. And I actually asked one time if I could bring my own scriptures into the celestial room. Because when you're going in to do work for other people, I would go in and just do the initiatory ceremony because it's not as weird when you have clothes on. And then when you're done with that, they'll let you go sit in the celestial room. So you don't have to go through the whole endowment ceremony. So I asked if I could bring my own scriptures, and no, you cannot.
No.
Because they were not white and delightsome.
I was going to say they've also been touched by the outside dirt.
That's right.
Just saying.
No outside dirt allowed in the temple. When you go into the temple, you change your shoes.
You change your shoes.
Workers change into white shoes with soles. I mean, the rest of us put on slippers. Some of us did have like regular shoes. If you went often enough, I guess it was worth the investment to have dad sneakers for your part of your temple clothing. But yeah, you're not supposed to wear your outside shoes outside of the locker room in the temple.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's that.
So
anyway, would you guys like to have the last secret words? Are you ready? Okay. All right.
I'm ready. So you're doing the patriarchal grip, the sign of the nail. You're touching the fingers on the wrist.
The sure sign of the nail.
It's whatever. and they pull you in
Or the nail
close.
in the sure place. Okay. So
Your
you're
hands, I just want them to get the whole picture. You're hugging one, and they say this to you.
You're in this position, except
Yes.
for us, it was not a girl on the other side. It was a dude. So it's a girl and a dude like this with the curtain, the temple veil between you, and your hands, where you're doing the handshake are just through a hole. And also the hand where you put the arm on the shoulder is also through a hole in the veil, which is not weird at all. We convinced ourselves.
Right.
This is the name of the token. Health in the navel, marrow in the bones, strength in the loins and in the sinews, power in the priesthood be upon me and upon my posterity through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. That's it.
That's it. No big deal. Oh yeah, see, it's coming back. Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'll get it. Don't worry.
Okay. So when I heard this, unlike you, Kirsten, when I heard this, I was thinking, well, I guess that kind of makes sense because it does mirror some of the language from the initiatory ceremony where they're like, we bless your navel, that it will,
Yeah.
And so I never really thought about how, well, let me just say, I never thought about the fact that nowhere in that final piece of teaching that's so vital is there anything mentioned about the Savior or God or heaven or anything else. I was like,
that was the first thing I thought about. I'm like, what does this have to do with it? Honestly, I'm like, this sounds like a blessing. Why do I need to know this part?
Yeah.
But again, that was me being a weirdo.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not being a weirdo. That's how all people should think when they go through the temple.
Exactly. It was, and this is the way that I moved through Mormonism is that anytime I heard something weird or something that didn't make sense to me, I either put it on my shelf and said, I'm going to ask about that later, or I'll do some research on that later. I'll figure it out later. Or I tried to correlate it to something to make it make sense in my mind. So I approached life through the lens that everything in Mormonism is true. It's all real. It's all literal. And I made everything else fit into that framework. That's how I went through life as a Mormon.
Yeah.
And so, and actually I've heard Mormon apologetic historians who approach the world in the same way. They say, I assume that Mormonism is true, and then I look at everything through that lens. And it's like, that's not historian, that's not scientist, that is literal believer.
Yeah.
Without critical thinking skills, where you look at source documents and you look at evidence and you look at historical testimony and things like that. And then you form a conclusion based on what you've researched, not forming the conclusion first and taking that into your research.
Right.
So
the thing that we've talked about before is that I wanted to be like you, Megan. I felt like something was wrong with me because I couldn't do that. And it constantly bothered me. Like it literally hurt my heart all of the time sitting in church because I saw people like that. I think my mom was like that. I think I have siblings like that. And I would always be like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just go along? Why do I question everything? And I hated that. I hated that about myself for so many years. That I think that's one of the reasons when I finally left Mormonism, I felt like, finally, I'm not the crazy one. I'm not the person that is like, I saw it for what it was, and I can finally let that go, trying to, do the mental gymnastics. So yeah, I don't know. I think that was a big part of my, I know that was a big part of my pain growing up, is that I wanted to be able to be an easy, literal believer, and I wasn't. And so I felt like there was something wrong with me because everybody else could make it make sense and I couldn't.
Yeah. I hate that for both of us.
Yeah.
So
All right.
this This next piece is going to be shocking. Just going to warn you, for some of you, it is going to be shocking to younger viewers. So use discretion. You might want to let the small children out of the room. Okay.
Do they watch our stuff? That's awkward.
I hope not. All right. So this website that I want to share with you, that I'm sharing with you now, compares Satanism, Freemasonry, and the Mormon Temple Ceremony. I will go ahead and share the link to this website in the description of the video so that you can go for yourself and review it. It goes through the entire initiatory and washing and anointing, all of that stuff, and compares like what's the same and what's different. What I want to skip down to, you can see that they all use the same symbols. But they assign different meanings to them. Okay.
Yep.
And then they talk about other similarities. And I want to scroll down to, we've got 5 points of fellowship right here. And okay, so over on this side, this is the satanic side, this is the Masonic side in the middle, and then this is Mormonism on the right, okay? On the satanic side, it says the 5 points of fellowship are given at the end of the Black Mass as a benediction, like a closing prayer. During the giving of the 5 points of fellowship, the candidate receives the whispered secret name of the god and goddess. To the man, may you have health in the navel, marrow in the bones, strength in the and in the sinews, and power in the priesthood be upon you and your posterity through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. It's the same in the Black Mass as it is in the Mormon Temple, with the exception of one word. In the Mormon ceremony, the P word is priesthood, and in the Black Mass, it's not.
So there you go, guys. There's no other way to lay it out there, in my opinion.
There's nothing else I can say. I also, when I first started researching this, came across a blog where there was a Wiccan ceremony that uses the exact same phrase with the exception of the P word.
Yep.
Exactly the same. Now, here's a TikTok I want to share with you that was reposted by LDS CES director, who's somebody I follow on TikTok. And this is how I came across this information. And it wasn't until just a few months ago that I found this. And when I saw it, I was like, is that real? And when I first searched for it, I could not find it. I could not corroborate what was being said in this TikTok. It took me a really long time to find this. So now that I have it, I desire all to receive it.
I do as well.
But really, we could have just played this TikTok and it would have, summarized everything we're talking about today, but that wouldn't have been any fun. So here we go.
Degree Mason explain the similarities between Mormonism, Freemasonry, and Satanism.
If you go to Temple Square, you'll see Masonic handshakes. You'll see the all-seeing eye. You'll see the sun, the moon, the stars. There's no crosses on the Mormon temple. There's nothing Christian on the outside of the Mormon temple. When you get inside the temple, you go through 3 levels. And in each level, you're taught hand signs and handshakes and things that are all very similar to Masonic stuff. And you are made to swear an oath. You put your hand to your throat and go like this, the same as you do in the entered apprentice degree of the Masonic Lodge. In a 3rd level, you are taught another set of secret handshakes, and then you're instructed, and this is where it gets really Masonic, you're instructed to go up, and they have this veil, which they say is like the veil in Solomon's temple. So you've got Masonic markings. You have a square and a compass on your chest. You have another marking on your navel and another Masonic marking on your knee. These same markings are on the veil, but they're stitched So they're holes. And there's a guy on the other side of the veil that you can't see who represents Heavenly Father. And you go up to this guy and you're instructed, you put your hand through the veil, and this is called the 5 points of fellowship. And this is right out of Masonry and right out of witchcraft. Gardnerian, Alexandrian witchcraft, and Masonry and Mormonism all have these 5 points. And the 5 points of fellowship are foot to foot, knee to knee, hand to back, breast to breast, and mouth to ear. So you're embracing this unknown guy through this veil, and he whispers to you the secret name of the celestial kingdom. And you ready for this? It's health in the navel, marrow in the bones, strength in the loins and in the sinews, power in the priesthood be upon me and my posterity for all generations of time and all eternity. Now, that might sound reasonably benign, except for the fact that it's almost word for word out of the satanic grimoire. It's a satanic incantation. The only difference is that obscene words are used.
Watch this former
out of the mouth of 2 witnesses. So I don't know if they said in there this man had been he said he was a Mason, and then he was baptized into the Mormon religion because he had felt that was what Satan wanted him to do. Is that what he had said in one of the previous ones we had watched?
Yeah.
Yeah, he felt like he was being led to that. Like that's what Satan wanted, was for him to become a white witch, basically, by becoming a Mormon. And so he recognized the similarities in the temple ceremony and everything. So that's where that all came from, for a little background.
Yeah. So it was disturbing, obviously, to learn this. Like I knew that of course Joseph Smith had borrowed heavily from Freemasonry. Nope, didn't borrow heavily, copied exactly from Freemasonry.
Yes.
And we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, how he probably thought nobody's going to know, nobody's going to check. There's not going to be any overlap here. And also, I think that's a big reason why he instituted the same blood oaths as well. Because, you know, if you're making promises to God and you're really a faithful believer, like I mentioned this in the last episode, like I felt genuine fear about, you know, violating these covenants or revealing them, because I really thought that I was making promises to God. I believed God is all powerful. And I really believed that, like, if I did anything wrong or if I revealed this stuff, that I was going to be punished by God. And so Joseph Smith was very clever to do that, because that's one of the reasons I think Mormonism has been so successful and lasted so long.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked about secret societies and they go on, you know, forever because nobody talks about them. Literal secrets is what keeps this information from getting out. You know, and I've been out of the church for so long and never realized that the ceremonies were the same because I never looked into it. I never looked it up. I kind of let that just sit in the back of my trauma brain and forgot about it, you know? And I think as a member of the church, not only are you not going to talk about it amongst each other, but you're also not going to do any research on it, because why would you? You know, if you found anything about it, you know, you hear it's on Reddit or YouTube or whatever, that's all super sacred. And you're not going to look at any of those things because those are obviously of the devil, because that's not supposed to be spoken about outside the temple. And you're definitely not going to be looking into Wicca or Satanism or anything like that, you know? So it's like, I don't want to say willfully ignorant, but
it is
kind of. Yeah, I don't want to be insulting to people. You know, I don't want to make people feel like I'm saying they're willfully stupid, but it really is like you're choosing not to educate yourself because someone else told you not to.
Right. So, in the truest definition of the word ignorant, like not meaning to say people are stupid, but ignorant means not knowing. Right.
Yeah.
And so purposely not looking at all sides of an issue because you only want the side that agrees with you. And I feel like that is 90% of what is wrong with our world right now.
Oh, 100%.
Not just in politics, but in society, in religion, everywhere. We look for confirmation bias because it makes us feel safe. And we refuse to look at things we disagree with because it's uncomfortable for us to be faced with something right in our face that's like, you might be wrong.
Well,
And
and the church encourages it. How many times are you told, if you look outside of church produced documentation, or if you stray from what the prophets have said or general conference or whatever, you're going to look like your faith is shaken, or
right,
you're looking into dark things. Like, that's how
right.
I felt when I was a member. So they
We were
refuse to,
literally,
they just refuse to. It's not even confirmation bias. It's told something bad will happen if you
right.
do.
Yeah. And we were
So,
literally told to doubt our doubts before we doubt our faith. And we were
yep.
told that if we went looking for anti-Mormon literature, that it meant that we didn't have enough faith and we should be
Right.
praying instead, and we should only be looking at faithful sources, because why would you be looking at things that would tear down your faith? You should be looking at things that are going to build up your faith. And
Yep.
and so we were shamed into not having a full picture. And
Yes.
on purpose, the missionaries are not taught in the missionary training center about the true origins of the church, about the truth of Joseph Smith's treasure digging, all of his convictions in court. You know, there is a lot of information that true believing members just don't have because they're told not to go looking for it.
I agree. Yep. And they're sending the missionaries out so young that these literal children have lived at home this whole time and probably didn't even have a lot of access. I mean, they had the internet, but you know, when you're living at home with your family, going to mutual activities, going to seminary, having family night, when do you even have a chance to look up anything, you know?
They keep
And
you so
so,
busy.
right. And then they send you on a mission. So these, again, literal children, I don't care that you're 18 and can sign a contract, you know, like, are being sent out to the world to try and teach adults, you know, faith and stuff, when they have no educational background on history or anything like that. So it makes me feel bad for them all the way around, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And sometimes they lose their testimony on their missions. How many times do we hear about that? Or go
All the
into
time.
severe depression and have mental health issues because they start seeing the world for what it is, and you know, don't have anywhere to lean on. They're out there in the world on their own, maybe never living outside of their own home. I don't know.
Right.
It's very high pressure and awful situation, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
It is. And I heard a statistic on Mormon Stories podcast where they said that up to 60% of the youth coming home from their missions leave the church within a year of coming home from their missions.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
think a lot of that has to do with the internet, but also I think there are a lot of people who see the missionaries or ask the missionaries questions, and the missionaries have no idea what they're talking about. And they're like, what is that about? So they go look it up, you know.
Yeah.
And I've spoken personally with several people who have said, if the Mormon missionaries ever come to my door, I ask them, what do you know about the gospel topic essays? What do you know about polygamy? Do you know how many wives Joseph Smith had? We'll ask them these really tough questions. And the missionaries are ill-equipped to handle them, because that's not what they teach in the missionary training center. They teach the very basic stuff. They teach the missionaries how to find people who have recently had traumatic experiences or a loss in their life of some kind. So they're looking for something spiritual to fill that gap. So they're really not equipped to answer these really tough questions about the religion. And a lot of them end up, you know, losing their faith either on the mission or as shortly after they get back.
Yep. Yeah. It's so sad. I mean,
Yeah.
how many young people could avoid having anxiety, depression, you know, any sort of issues like that, estrangement from their family, if they didn't feel forced to go on a mission? You know, I do think about that kind of a lot, probably more often than I should. There are a lot of missionaries I see around my neighborhood and things like that. You know, Las Vegas does have a high Mormon population, but they have a lot of missionaries here. And every time I see these kids, I'm just like, my heart breaks for them. It's so hot, it's 110 and they're
Yeah.
bicycling. And I mean, this is kind of a funny story I will share. Recently, we saw some missionaries driving down the street while I was taking my kids to school. And one of my kids was like, "Hey, there's the missionaries. What should we do? Like, what do we do if we see them?" They were just asking me. And my daughter goes, "I think we yell at them, 'Don't talk to me. We hate Jesus.'" And I was like, no, we don't do that. I was like, "We don't hate Jesus." And I was like, "No, we can offer them some water. If we have a bottle of
Yes.
water, we could tell them, 'I hope you're having a nice day.'" And my son goes, "But don't offer them coffee. They'll throw it in your face." And I was like, "Oh my God." So there might need to be a conversation with my children how to handle missionaries.
You've taught your children well, Kirsten.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, no." I could not get over though when they were like, "You yell at them, we hate Jesus." Like, I might have overcorrected. I might have overcorrected.
Well, Kirsten, this has all been terrible.
Yeah, I hate it.
But I'm glad we did this together, though. I would not have wanted to do this alone, and that's why I didn't do it alone. It's why I put it off for so long, and I'm really glad I did, because I think us doing this together, going through it together, was a lot more effective. Granted, it took a lot longer.
Well, Megan, before we go, just like at the temple, I think we should show the celestial room.
Exactly. I was just going to say, we went through all of that, and now we get to have our reward. Are you ready for the reward, Kirsten?
Sure.
It's not going to be as good as you think, but it is kind of pretty. Okay, here we go.
It is pretty.
The celestial room in the San Antonio Temple. And this is, like I said, the stained glass is really pretty. I could sit and look at the stained glass in there for a long time. It really is intricate and beautiful.
Yes, the other temples I've been to are not like that. It's just regular windows, but it still is very pretty. It's very bright white, so it looks nice and clean, and it is very nice. So if you wanted to sit and ponder in a quiet room, that would be a nice place to do so.
Yeah.
But that's about it. It looks like a living room, a really nice foyer or something.
And then if you were really lucky, once a month you could volunteer to clean in the temple, and you had to wear a temple, like an all white dress, to clean in the temple. The good news is it's already pretty clean. I never had to clean the bathrooms or anything, but I did do a lot of vacuuming in there. And it's interesting to clean a place that's already clean, because that never happens in my house. When I clean my house, it's not already clean.
Yeah.
But I do remember one time I was in the celestial room, and Kirsten, do you remember that in San Antonio, about once every couple of years, we get a cricket invasion?
Oh, yes.
And when I say
did
invasion,
they come in the temple?
Well, they're not supposed to be able to, right? Because no unhallowed, unendowed thing can come into the temple.
Right.
But you know, it's that area of town is famous for scorpions and other things like that. Small scorpions, not like the huge ugly ones, but the cricket invasion. When I say cricket invasion, I'm talking about black crickets coating the wall of the exterior of a building. It is pretty gross. And I, would be sitting outside at a football game, and they would be, swarming around the lights. And every once in a while, one would fall on you or whatever. So when I say cricket invasion, it was a lot of crickets. Yeah. But I never saw the crickets coating the outside of the temple like they did, like some of the retail places or whatever.
Yeah.
But one day I was in the celestial room with the temple president and the temple matron, among lots of other people. And there was a cricket next to one of these tall green potted plants, and the temple matron was like horrified. She ran over and grabbed a Kleenex and went and picked it up and like put it into the palm of the temple president and was like, "Take care of this." Because it was like, nothing unclean can be in here.
Oh my gosh, that is so I would love to know how many times they have like roaches or something in the
Oh,
temple kitchen,
oh,
you know.
well, the San Antonio temple doesn't have a kitchen, but the other ones, I'm
Oh,
sure they had to take care of things like that.
fun fact, my mom had worked in the temple. She's a temple worker, obviously, and worked at the distribution center. And she knew the person who was like the head chef at the temple or whatever.
Oh,
And I loved the roles that they
yeah.
had at the temple. And so my mom called that person and they actually catered my wedding. So
Aw,
so the temple chef
I love
catered
that for
my
you.
wedding in the Stake Center basketball gym.
We made it. Crickets in the celestial room, and I feel like it's anticlimactic, right? Sort of like we felt when we actually went through the temple the first time, except I got
Yes.
to eat really good Mexican food afterwards. So I feel like that's what I should have for lunch today.
That sounds delicious. I'm going to lunch with some friends, but it's just a
Nice.
lacy dog. It's just, American food, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, enjoy. Yeah, it's totally anticlimactic because we're done. Like, I can't believe we're finally done.
But we're not. We still have to be sealed
We still
because
have to be
although
sealed, but
we're all done with the endowment ceremony and everything, that's pretty much anybody, single, not, all the things, married, everybody can get the endowment. But
right.
the next couple ones, we've got the sealing. And then if we go into it, which we definitely are,
We
the second
will.
anointing, those
Yeah.
are for the
That's
specials
the tippy
of the
top.
special.
Well, I mean, the
Yeah.
sealing is for pretty much ordinary Mormons who are married to other Mormons. If you're a
Yeah.
Mormon marrying a Mormon, you get sealed. That's the norm. I'm not normal. That's we've established that. So I
Well,
never
the
did go
reason
through sealing.
the reason I say it's for like the more elite ones, because we see more and more now people are staying single or are in same-sex couple marriages. There's like,
Right.
I feel like pretty much anyone can get endowed, as long as you're
Right.
paying your tithing and are worthy to go to the temple. But the sealing is only if you're in a heterosexual relationship where both people are temple worthy, and all
Right.
those things. So it is a little bit like of an extra because
It is.
not everybody gets that sealing ordinance, and some people don't get it for a very long time, if ever.
Yeah.
My dad's parents weren't sealed for a very long time because my grandpa drank and smoked, even though he was a faithful member of the church and did everything else. They didn't get sealed until my dad was like 15 because my grandfather finally decided to stop smoking. So,
Well, there you go.
that happens. And sometimes people never get sealed. And
Yeah.
some people are sealed to more than one spouse, as we know.
We will get into all of that. Yeah.
And they're the real top tier because polygamy is eternal.
That's right. I hate that for us.
Well, I don't hate that for me because I'm not in that.
I've never been sealed to anyone, so technically I'm just going to be an angel floating out there in the ether by myself. Well, both of us will be in outer darkness now anyway, so.
Correct. Yeah. I think I'm assuming mine was all broken since I got kicked out. Well, I didn't get kicked out. I resigned from the church and it said all my blessings were taken away from me. So
yeah.
I take that as my sealing has been broken.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me that I kicked myself out of the church, which is pretty true. I'm pretty proud of it, actually.
You're like, get out of here.
You can't excommunicate me because I quit.
Right. I love it. I love it.
Well, I'm glad that we've gotten to the end of this
it.
part. I'm glad that all the people now have all the information. If you're a Mormon who is going through the temple and you came here because you wanted to have informed consent, God bless you. I wish you the best on your journey, whatever you decide, whether to go through it or not. If you're a Nevermo, I'm sorry that you had to be subjected to this. But you chose
it's weird.
Here, so. Was a choice.
Hearing about it and actually doing it are two very different things, and I'm grateful that you didn't have to actually do it.
Me too.
It's weird.
It's super weird.
But
anyway,
here we are. We made it.
And thank you for being here with us. And we appreciate you supporting our snark because We desire all to receive Snark.
Yes, we do. Another reminder that we're going to be at Thrive coming up in February. We'll put a link in the description if anybody wants to go. If nothing else, to hear me and Megan laugh at each other's jokes. So.
And now you actually are part of this super top secret club, because we will be using these Mormon phrases from time to time, and then you'll be in on the joke. What is wanted?
Yes.
And
your eyes have not yet been opened. But now everyone here, their eyes have been opened.
Their eyes have been opened. I'm excited for our members only live after this one, because I have a fun little game that we can play. And so if you're not a member, you should join, because we do members only lives after this. And we also do top tier member stuff that's a little more copyrighted and fun. So join us. We hope you'll join us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Right. Thanks, Megan. And thanks for being here, you guys. We appreciate you.
We love you.